Hello all. So Uncle Destiny back here with you. Sorry for the little delay in getting the video out, and it's going to be less than as produced and edited as it's been in the past, just due to the, sadly, my work schedule this week has just not worked well for it. But let's go ahead and see what the ancestors have to say. I've already thrown the bones, so let's go ahead and get into it. So this is our spread this month. And we don't have the Adinkra to be able to talk with us as well. So today, but what we can do is we know we're going to be talking about the 11th house. And this is about groups, friends, social causes, and society. And as we sit here at the first month of spring, which in some cases is I like to think of it as the real start of the new year, which is actually part of the way that April Fool's got its name, because there was the aspect of those who started the new year based more off the solstice as opposed to the vernal equinox. So here we are talking about how we move as a group, how we function with our friends, how we focus with our social causes, and our way that way we are building society. And we've also had a lot of things going on recently too about what our societal structures are and who and what are we actually valuing and protecting. So that's going to be a very big part of all of this. Now, as you can see with what we've got here, two of our main bones are actually next to each other and nestled into all of these things. And one of these bones, this one here, is definitely our social/family bone. This one here is also our work bone. Over here is the home bone. So our families, our social things, as well as our work are all very much closely aligned. There's a lot of support around this, and that support is telling us a lot more that what we're going to be dealing with in this month of April is about a lot of social change and a lot of things that will put some social perspectives for some of us in black and white view, but also make it much more clear that there are those who are aligning in to a one side or other side battle. And they're welcome to do that as part of their choice for themselves, but they do not represent everyone. And there are many of us who will sit in the middle because there are elements in both of these battles that, yeah, we may have a connection to, but they will ultimately end up hurting more people than they will actually be helping. And if anything, they will be helping only a myopic or a very limited set, as opposed to all of us, because again, all of us are on this earth, breathing its air, using its water, walking on the land, which fundamentally is all over the world. And Spirit's in here too, with that sense of we need to be focusing on what is for the good of the larger world. And the larger world does not mean living in the past. And that can be a multi-layered thing, because there are ways that living in the past are useful in the aspect of respecting nature. But there's also ways of living in the past where traditions that were formed because of situations that were happening then that do not match now isn't working well for all of us. And some of these structures that we built to traditions were based off of a much smaller sense of existence. So you're talking about a home that was maybe had 100 to 300 people in it versus now having 30,000 living in that same space. Those rules don't match. Those rules don't function the same way. So Spirit is very much interested in us being much more aware of what we are in connection to so many other people, as opposed to just ourselves. And that our work here is in that standpoint of how are we functioning to be able to provide support to the groups, to our friends, to the social causes and the society that we actually want to build. I'm a sci-fi fan, and so one of the things that's also been talked about in some certain sci-fi circles is the fact that it's been harder and harder for us to see a utopian future in our sci-fi. And it doesn't even have to be out and out utopian, but a future where we are actually wanting to live and strive for it, as opposed to increasing dystopian futures, which, let's be frank, none of us want to live in a dystopian future. It's not good for anyone. Even those that would be the 1% in those dystopian futures are ultimately always sitting at the knife's edge of ruin. So we don't want to be in the 11th hour any longer. We want to be moving towards those futures that mean we are sustainable. And that's going to take recognizing who's getting into a black and white argument and not being a part of their black and white argument. They have to be contained, and if so, let them be contained and fighting with each other. The rest of us need to move on, and the rest of us need to exist without them. So when we move over here into the quartz piece, which is the clarity, but we've got balance, we've also got the broken root problems. This is still bringing up the issue of the element of conflict. So this month is going to bring in some things that we're going to be in conflict with, both internally, externally, and spiritually. And we have to remember, again, these aren't all sitting in isolation. They are interconnected. So the spiritual conflict is in connection with the mental emotional conflict. And the mental emotional conflict is in relationship to the physical conflict. And the physical conflict is in connection to the spiritual conflict. They are all connected. Nothing exists in isolation. And we have to choose, are we going to be the one, are we going to be, if we're picking up the knife, are we going to be holding it or are we going to be receiving it? And again, do we even need to pick up the knife at all? Because that's also a choice there. And that's part of what we're getting reflected. And we know what we wish for for the future, but wishes have to actually have actions that help build them. And building that sense of us having a connection to each other as opposed to against each other, which is supported here in the shell, which is turned outward. So this is much more about our outward experiences as well as our internal experiences. So look for a lot of this to be about what's going on outside of you. So our other bones, we've got one of our joint bones here and tailbones, which is the aspect of some things are coming to a terminus, and there are some terminal things that are coming in this month of April that we need to be aware of. The home bone is over here. It's okay. It is just sitting along. It is humming. It is the place where we know we can retreat to, but it's not our biggest concern. Over here, this one is waiting for what's going to be coming in towards solstice, the summer solstice. And we need to find balance there because that is one of the things that is happening with that period of time. Here, we must also be looking for our inspirations. And our inspirations that allow us to have our social medium, but our sense of those of us who are in the middle, what are we having? How are we ensuring that our voices are heard and that we are able to keep going? Because this is not going to be about the black and white. This is going to be about the gray. This is going to be about us in the middle and remembering that we are a force to be reckoned with just as much as those who believe in black and white. So, this is what the month of April's got for us. It's about building the world that we want. And also dealing with the ramifications of the worlds that we are living in now, because we also need to remember that having consequences is an act of love as well. And whatever those consequences are, good, bad, or indifferent, they are still coming and can operate in a place of love too. So, I wish you well. Ashe.